Today's demo lesson, I'm going to go over cover letters. And in this lesson in particular, I'm going to talk about phrasal verbs, tenses, and strong English. I'm also going to go over the homework so you have an idea of what to expect when you work with me. So if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned to find out more. Hey, I'm Michael with Michael's Business English. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Michael Rincon, a former six-figure data analyst turned ESL instructor and career coach. I help non-native English speakers like you with your work life and career to increase your value. If you're new here on this channel, we talk about business English, communications, and career development. So if you're into that, make sure you like and subscribe. And all the descriptions mentioned in this video can be found in the comment section below. All right, so today we're going to cover letters. The objectives for today are to include and practice writing a resume/CV cover letter, to introduce the concept of strong English expressions used to express confidence, and to practice common salutations in closing for cover letters. So a cover letter is sometimes known as a letter of application depending on the country you're in. So in the US, we typically call it a cover letter, but I've noticed in countries like Asia, when I was looking for teaching English in China and Taiwan, they say letter of application or letter of introduction. And the general purpose of a cover letter is to basically talk about yourself. It's kind of like asking the question, tell me about yourself, but in written form. And this is an opportunity to kind of give your resume a second look. It's kind of to set you out from the crowd to say why you're different from all the other candidates. Now here are some examples of statements that have been used in cover letters. And what I'd like you to do is look at these sentences, read them aloud, and tell me, how does it make you feel? Does it inspire you? Does it encourage you? Because as you're reading this stuff, imagine what a recruiter or a hiring manager is going to feel. So for example, I haven't had much experience in this industry, but I'm sure I can handle a job. Let me ask you, how does that make a hiring manager feel when they hear that? How does it make you feel when you read that? Do you feel confident? Do you feel like you actually can handle the job? Well, how about this one? I possess excellent spoken and written communication skills and have solid experience in writing and publishing company reports. A significant difference in tonality. And you notice that you don't have to mention, like, I don't have much experience in the industry, because that's not important. You don't need to talk about things you don't have in a cover letter, per se. Sometimes you do, depends, but which one do you think is more effective? Now, here are some additional examples. Like, how good are these statements? My colleagues consider me to be one of the best people to work with. Do you think that's important to a hiring manager, or do you think a hiring manager is going to be skeptical of that? Just food for thought. Alright, so here are some common phrasal verbs and collocations that you can use in cover letters. What I'd like you to do is to match a phrasal verb on the left or collocation to its meaning on the right. So for example, follow up on something is a collocation. What does that mean? Exceed expectations, a great fit, and a great deal of. Can you match these terms with the terms on the right? So follow up on something, does that mean to do better than expected? Does that mean to do a lot of? Does that mean to be perfect for the required purpose? Or does that mean to investigate something further or more to the next logical step? Which one do you think it means? So I'm going to give you some time to think about that. I'm not going to give you the answer this time. I want you to think. Now, if you don't know the meanings of these words, you don't know what follow up on something means, it might be harder for you. So just keep that in mind. If you don't know the meaning of a word, let me know. Okay, so now that you've had a chance to define these verbs and collocations, what I'd like you to do is to fill in the blank with these terms. So I will call you next Tuesday to blank my application and arrange an interview. Which one do you think it is? Is it a great deal of? I will call you next Tuesday to a great deal of my application. I will call you next Tuesday to a great fit my application. I will call you next Tuesday to exceed expectations my applications. I will call you next Tuesday to follow up on my application. Okay, for this exercise, I want you to take one of the words and fill in the blanks for this cover letter example. Now, as an FYI, you might need to change tense. You may not need to though. So for the first sentence, Dear Mr. Patterson, I am writing to blank for the sales executive position at your London office. Which word should go in there and what tense should it be? Does the tense change? So for example, I am writing to adaptable for the sales executive position. I'm writing to candidate for the sales executive. Now, if you're not familiar with the terms being used here, that's perfectly fine because we can look up the terms in the middle of the lesson. Let me show you a quick. As you can see, it's going to tell you what the verb is, how it's used as a subject, its synonyms, definitions, apply, refer to a word, service, be pertinent. It gives you some examples as well. So don't worry if you don't know what the definitions mean. We got some more examples here. In this case, you've got some new verbs here that you will have to change the definitions. So I'll walk this one with you. So I have more than 10 years of sales experience. Throughout my career, I blank my skills by blank my annual sales targets every year. So what's the first word? Is it employed, surpass, or demonstrate? Throughout my career, I blank my skills by blank my annual sales targets every year. So let's pretend you don't know what the words means. I employed my skills by surpass, by demonstrating, by things. Right, let's go look up the definitions and see what they say. So we can get a better idea. So employed, let's see, to hire, engage. They hired 2 new secretaries. How many people has she employed? So employed is to be utilized or to be put into service, right? So we see put into service means work. I employed my skills. That could work, but let's see what the other words mean. So, demonstrate. Show, exhibit, demo, present, prove, establish. So I demonstrate my skills. Let's put that here. Demonstrate. Oh, this would be too big. Demonstrate my skills. Now, let me ask you, is it present tense or is this a different tense? Because the thing is with this one is that when you're writing the cover letter, you're typically talking about something you did in the past. So should it be demonstrate, which is the present tense, or should it be demonstrated, which is the past tense? Now, if you're not familiar with the different tenses, then it might be a good idea to work on some private lessons or go review some the beginner to intermediate English programs so that you can get caught up to speed with business English lessons. So now I want to talk about something called strong English expressions. And what this means is this is talking about terms and vocabulary that make you sound more confident, more certain, more assured. And here are some examples. So if to when. If we meet to discuss the project implies, using if would be saying, we may do it, we may not do it. You're making it sound like you don't know, which, you know, in certain cultures, it's good to be humble and have some humility and to show respect and authority to the bosses. In the West, in the US in particular, that is important, but it's much more important to be confident and assertive and to be knowing, like you know that this is going to work. So instead of saying if we meet to discuss the project, use when. When we meet to discuss the project, because that shows that you know. I hope that versus I'm confident that. I hope that I meet the qualifications. Well, hope means that you're not sure. Well, I'm confident that you meet the qualifications for the job. Like, do you know or do you not know? Like, do you hope you meet the qualifications? If you've read the job description, you know if you meet the qualifications or not. So instead of saying, I hope that, say, I'm confident that. So what I'd like to do now is take these sentences that are considered weak and hopeful sounding, they're kind of like, I don't know, and make them into more confident sounding sentences. So for the first one, if you have some time, I would like to meet you for an interview. Versus, what was the alternative? So let's go back real quick and let's show you to remind you. If to when. Because we know that they are going to have time. Like, everyone has time at some point. So when you have some time, I would like to meet you for an interview. Versus, if you have some time, I would like to meet you for an interview. Which one sounds more confident? It's a very small nuance, but it's worth being aware of that. It's worth understanding the nuances, because something small like that can put the odds in your favor, can tip in your favor so that you have a better chance of getting into it. I probably have enough experience for this position. Like, does that sound confident to you? I probably have enough experience for this position. Like, is that something you want to hear? Like, if you hired someone to fix your car, I probably have enough experience to fix your car. If you go to the dentist, I probably have enough experience to fix your teeth. You go to get brain surgery, I probably have enough experience to help you with your brain tumor. It's not very exciting, is it, right? So what is another way you could say that? All right, let me go ahead and show you the homework real quick before we sign off here. So as you can see, you got some options. So we didn't cover this in this demo lesson, but we actually talked about prepositions. Because, listen, the lesson itself is usually 60 minutes long, so I don't have the time to go through all of this. But if you get the chance to work with me, you'll get to do some of these lessons. Let me go into the homework. So here, we're going to talk about, this is what we just talked about, making strong English. If you want, you can get in touch with me to organize English, or organize an interview. How confident is that? If you want, you can get in touch with me. How would we reframe that? Because we can't say when you want. That's kind of awkward, right? Like, if you say when you want, I guess you could say that if you wanted to, but when you want, you can get in touch with me to organize an interview. That's okay. When you want, you can get in touch with me to organize an interview. That works okay, actually. When you want, you can get in touch with me. That's a hell of a lot better than if you want. But if you want to go even further, you want to be confident. Like, how would you say that? How would you say I want to get in touch with someone to organize an interview? So what's an option? So this is your homework. So I can't do this for you, but when you submit your homework, I would give you feedback on what you answered. So one way I would do this, just FYI, since we're here, I look forward to meeting with you for an interview. Very simple. Like, it just assumes you're gonna do it. It's not overly cocky. It's just like, you're just showing optimism, but you're showing confidence. Like, I know what I want. All right. I hope you enjoyed this demo lesson. See you in the next one. Thanks, guys.